Hey, we are live, and as you guys can see, uh, well, maybe you don't know, but this is not Carter Harkins. This is Jonathan Sanders, and Jonathan is has agreed to be so kind to actually talk about the five things that everybody needs to know about video. But we're going to let some people get on, and while we do, we're going to play something that Jonathan actually created that we love around here. Here we go. Every time I play that, Jonathan, this is just so cool.
I know sometimes I'll go and watch the lives just so that I can watch that intro. Pat
I
myself
know.
back a little bit.
Awesome. This is so awesome. So, like I said, guys, we are going to talk about some basic things that you need to know to shoot really amazing video. Now, the thing about this that's really interesting to me is a lot of people think that they are just incapable of shooting really good video. But the reality is, we have some rules, right? We got some rules. So we're gonna teach you some rules. And for those of you that are on, if you could give us a thumbs up, a little love, that would be great. Would love to know who you are. Put any comments that you have. Oh, got a comment, Terry. Hey, great. Terry said it's an awesome intro video, Jonathan.
Thanks,
Right
Terry.
there, fantastic. Thank you so much, Terry. We love Jonathan and all the stuff he brings to us here. He is our video aficionado. How do you like that, Jonathan? We'll give
I'll
you a
take
new title. So we do have some rules, and the first rule is called the rule of thumb. No, not the rule of thumb. The
the
rule
rule.
of thirds.
Yeah,
I
the
just
rule of
wanted to throw
thirds.
you. I just wanted to throw you a little bit there.
Well, I'm unflappable. I've known you long enough. No, but the rule of thirds is really important when it comes to framing your video. And honestly, the better name for it is probably like the guide of thirds, because every rule when it comes to creating something, whether it's video, photo, art, whatever, rules are made to be broken. So you can do that, but it's sort of that basic thing you need to know so that you can frame your photo in a way that's pleasing to the eye. And even if we don't have to sit here and assume that you need to that it's you're creating high art to be able to follow the rule of thirds. Even if you're doing before and after pictures, you actually make your images better when you follow the rule of thirds. And what the rule of thirds are, I think if you look on most of your phones, you can enable a grid that goes across, and then you line it up on the thirds of that. So the grid goes two down and two across, and you line it up along the thirds, and you compose whatever the main thing you're showing. Now, I think one of the instances where you might want to break that rule would be if you're wanting to do a before and after of a fireplace or a chimney or the outside of a chimney. Maybe you've done some brickwork. Having that centered up is not a problem in a before and after situation. So that would be an instance where you could throw out the rule of thirds. But when it comes to if you want to shoot a picture of your employees in front of your vans and things like that, have your employee lined up along the right third or the left third with the truck or the van kind of going across the frame. That's one example of a way that you can use the rule of thirds to make a really attractive photo.
So one of the ways that I learned this was to make sure that 2/3 of your of the space is filled with the subject.
2/3 of the space,
So
sure.
yeah, so that's another way to kind of remember that. So if that's something that you're like, I'm not really sure exactly what that means. It really is. It's just making sure that 2/3 of the space, and it's normally like if you're outside the horizon, you want the horizon on the first line of the grid. I mean that's a really good way to look at that. And then whatever is in your picture, the first line here and the first line here, the subject, and that fills up the 2/3. So hopefully
Right.
that makes sense.
Sure.
So it's really pretty easy. And hey, thanks Jerry and Stacy for giving us a like. Really appreciate that. But honestly, that is a really good rule, but it's not, like you said, something that is so it's not like speeding. You're not going to get a
Right.
ticket. You're not going to like break anything if you break the rule of thirds, but it's a great guideline.
Right. And that's like, for instance, if you're taking say, again, using the example of you're showing the world your employees and you're doing a shot, you don't want them in the bottom left or bottom right corner, or to have their head cut off right about here as they're, that's simple framing that you can use the rule of thirds to guide you and how you set up your picture.
Yeah, and I like that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is perspective. And a lot of times using the rule of thirds helps you also with perspective. But I want to start out by telling you a little story about perspective. I can remember, it's been years ago, my mother went on a cruise to Alaska, her first cruise to Alaska. And she was so excited. She had me and my kids fly down to the valley. She lived in South Texas at the time. And we flew down there the day after she got in. And the first thing that my mom always did is after a trip is she would take her photographs in to get processed. And of course, this was before iPhones and all that good stuff, and everything being digital. So she was so excited because she got pictures of these huge whales that was right by the boat. Okay. So we start going through the pictures and I'm like, I don't see the whales, Mom. I don't see them. And so she starts really, really looking, and finally she pulled this up and it was this little bitty spot in there. It's like, oh, that's the whale. She's like, wow, that looks so different than what I thought it was going to be. And one of the things about perspective, what happens is we forget that we need to kind of know the camera or know the lens or whatever we're using, so that we have a really good expectation of what we're going to get.
Right.
So talk about that a little bit, Jonathan.
Well, if going back to the examples of before and afters with perspective, you want to make sure that when you're taking a picture, you want to be in the same spot every time, so that the perspective that the viewer sees of the image, or even the video, if it happens to be video, is the exact same in the before and after. Because if you take a picture of a fireplace that you've done some brickwork, or you fixed something or added, put in a new insert, and you take a picture and maybe the fireplace is sort of to the right of frame, and in the next one it's centered or it's to the left of frame, it's just off enough that they don't really know, the viewer doesn't really know if you're taking a picture of the same thing. And so you lose some of the power of the before and after. Whereas if you frame it exactly the same, both before and after you do the work, the viewer gets the full power of that great work you've just done. And that serves as the best testimonial for the work that you do.
And one of the things that we've come up with to help our clients with that perspective, especially before and after, and you can do this if you're on the roof, you can do it if you're in the home, if you're on hardwood floors, on carpet, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that the homeowner knows this. I call it the painter's tape rule. And it's real simple. It's the same thing we used to do when you did broadcast stuff. You'd use gaffer's tape and you would mark the spot where you had to go. Right. Well, it's the same thing. If you've got painter's tape, just make sure again that your customer knows you're going to do this and why. You can take that painter's tape, put it down, take the first picture, and if you want to take a series of pictures throughout the process, you can do that as well. But take it from the same vantage point. That is huge, right, because then people understand and they see what you're actually doing.
That's right.
And what happens is a lot of people will take it from the right and then they'll take the finish from the left. And the reality is you can't tell because the lighting is so different. You really, really cannot tell if it's the same thing or not. So,
That's right.
the painter's tape methodology works really, really good. We've got several people that are like, hey, this is great. So, I want to thank Jerry. I love this, Jerry. I'm gonna show this. Always good information. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Lee, hello. Glad you're here. Derek, you always make me laugh, man. Yeah, if you have a crooked install, that may not be one you want to put anywhere, unless it's the guy that before you got there.
Right. You don't want to
That's
broadcast.
the one you want to do. So, Jonathan, we have a question from Jerry. How important is captioning as often as we see photos that the customer does not understand? Well, how important is captioning that?
I'm assuming Jerry's talking about the copy that goes with your social post. And Jerry, if not, just correct me if I'm wrong. But I think that's very important because when it comes to digital marketing for Taylor and I, or it comes to anything technical that you guys do, anything that you do that you know really well, oftentimes it just seems self-evident when you do it. And so if it can be easy to get caught up, well, of course it's obvious. Well, like for me, as I've begun to talk more about the rule of thirds, for instance, I've had to really get more creative about how I explain that, because to me it's self-evident, but it's not for everyone. And so when you're doing work that you want to highlight, you want to put in that copy, you want to tell the customer what, or the viewer, the person consuming your social media output, you want to tell them exactly what's there and be very specific, but in terms that they can understand. So I would say that's very important.
Okay. So you're going to have to answer Josh's question here because I could answer it, but
I mean, Taylor doesn't let me go home. I mean, I'm actually right behind him. You see those windows out there behind him? That's where I am. I'm in a little shed.
Yeah, we just keep him on property, keep him working 24/7. Just so what kind of I'm running? I'm running a sweatshop, Josh, a sweatshop, I tell you. And you're right, Lee. It a lot of times it just looks like a dark box. People don't know what it is. They don't know if it's a gas, if it's an insert. They really don't have a lot of information and know what's going on. And hey, Jared, glad you're here, buddy. And you add a lot to the community as well. Really appreciate that. And again, Derek, if you want to squint, go ahead. I think that's good. That's a good thing to do. We're going to go on though. Here we go. We're going to lighting. So, guys, let's talk a little bit about lighting. It's one of my pet peeves because people don't stop long enough and realize that you need a even light situation. And there's a lot of things. There's backlighting. I see this a lot. That people are sitting at desks and there's like a lamp on one side or the other that's just all this bright light. And it just washes one side out and the other side is in the dark. So before you do anything, look at the lighting. Just take a really good look. Now, if you're outside, just be careful, with the sun. I don't know if guys, you've ever seen this, but photographers normally will stand where the sun is behind them to take a picture, and it's because the sun casts a really nice light, but they have to also be careful of shadows. So these are all the different things that you have to look at. Indoors, a lot of times there are, everybody thinks that in order to do lighting, you have to have all these whiz bang lights, and you really don't. I mean, I'm in my office right now. I literally have 3 lights. I have 2 floor lamps and a lamp on my desk. And all I'm trying to do is fill the space with good light. Not from one side or the other, but just to fill it from all directions. So if you'll make that a goal and just fill your space, then you'll find out that, that your lighting you can control your lighting to a certain degree.
Right.
And yes, Lee, I agree. This is so true. On top of a roof, before the morning sun, after in the evening, that's the best time. So if you can do a before and after at those times, that would be great. Sometimes on the roof with reflection, especially if you're on metal roofs, slate roofs, some of those kind of things, it's really tough. And I agree. Thanks for bringing that up, Lee. I think that's perfect. Appreciate that. So, Jonathan, tackle this one.
Okay.
Audio. We get this a lot.
Audio is depending on what you want to do. We can go into the specifics of what type of audio, whether you want to use the onboard audio or you want to buy the onboard mic on your phone or other external camera, or even whether you want to buy an external mic that plugs into you, because they make several that you can plug into your phone. But regardless of what you choose, your audio is an important thing. You don't want to cover it up if you want someone to hear you or hear something else you're shooting. You don't want to cover up that mic. You don't want anything loud. Like, let's say you're not too far from, you're in a flight path and you're wanting to talk about something not regarding planes on your video. Well, if a plane is flying right over you and they can and that dominates what people are hearing, then that's going to kind of ruin your video. So audio is not just the technical aspect, but also what's going on around you. I know I've shot in places where there's a warehouse nearby, and one of the things I have to keep in mind is you have tractor trailers coming in and out, and so sometimes we have to break up our shoot. So that's kind of what you want to think about with audio is be aware of your surroundings, but also, what do you want to use? Do you want to use an external mic? Are you going to be talking into the camera like Taylor and I are doing now? In that case, you might want to have an external mic. And depending on the phone, sometimes you can get really good audio, especially if it's quiet around you. You can get really good audio just with the onboard mic on your phone.
We get asked this all the time. How do you deal with wind? Well,
you grit your teeth and bear it.
There's not a whole lot.
Right. You can do some things to minimize or mitigate, but honestly, they're not nearly as effective as no wind. So, a lot of times it's just not something you can do.
If you have a wind sock, which I don't know, there's wind guards, there's wind socks. The socks go over the mics. The guards are kind of in front, but the guards really are for people that pop and do things that are professional recording. There's a little bit you can do, but I've never seen a wind sock that actually eliminates all wind. It just It does not exist. It will lessen it a little bit, but if you're in a windy situation, you just got to grin and bear it.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
I would say Tom put something here about cloudy bright on your phone. You want to talk about that a minute?
Yeah, when the sun is behind the clouds, obviously it takes away that direct light that's going to cast a lot of shadow, but through the clouds, it's going to really brighten up everything around you. And so that's where you can get some really good natural lighting that minimizes your shadows.
Yeah, I actually will tell you my favorite outdoor lighting is cloudy, period. When it's cloudy, that's when I want to, that's my favorite time if you're going to shoot outdoors. Absolutely, without a doubt. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate that. So let's see what else we got. Oh, here's one of my favorite ones. Backgrounds. So I'm going to say something here, and I hope I don't make anybody mad, but it's like one of the reasons that I love the green screen that I have, that if you're doing things from your office, I love being able to get a green screen. And the one I have, literally just I pull it up and push and put it down. I like that because right now behind me is this ugly wall that's been beat up, has got a lot of holes in it because of the construction that's going on. So, but I can sit at my desk, put the green screen up, and I can go to Hawaii. I have got a lot of different options for backgrounds. The other thing is, like, I know Jonathan pays attention to his background, so there's not anything in his background that is questionable. And by questionable, this is what you have to ask yourself. And again, I hope I don't make anybody mad. But I hate when somebody gets on either a live or a video or whatever, and there is something that is phallic in the background. They know that it's a vase or something that's not, but it looks that way, and nobody has taken the opportunity to actually look and see what's in the background. Right. So if you're doing a live or doing something on video, make sure you take a look at your background with a really fine-tooth comb and get anything that could be misconstrued in the background. I have seen great videos just go haywire with comments because somebody has seen something that they're making a really big deal about, shouldn't, but it happens. So just take a few moments and really look at your background and make sure that there's not anything that somebody can turn into a conversation like Josh said in bed.
Well, for instance, as a great example is I actually made my bed today, and those that know me know I don't make my bed. I don't see the point, but because I'm just going to crawl back in it. However, it's not going to look great if I get on this live and everybody sees what a slob I am with my bed. So I made sure I made it and made it look neat. I think it's that kind of attention to detail. I have a plastic grocery bag with some Tupperware in it that was sitting on my desk. I took that off because that looks really tacky. So those are just examples of paying attention and imagining what's going to be behind you. And we all of us forget. I can't tell you how many times I've shot video and I've seen something in the background that just makes me groan because I'm like, why did I not see that? So it's understandable. Just do your best to really catch as much of that as you can.
Yeah, and hey, I want everybody to know Carter has chimed in here. Carter gets to play dad today. He had something that he needed to do with his son. So really glad you're here, Carter. Can't wait till you get back next week. It'll be fun. So look at this. No one thinks anymore of you because of that Bama gear.
Oh, man. I'm telling you, Josh, you're my man. I know you're a big Bama fan too. Right?
John, hey, Tom, that's a great point. Does this include making sure other people don't enter your shot?
That is correct. Well, for instance, I've got my door only slightly shut because my dog, if I shut it completely and he decides to come in, he's going to whine and that's going to distract. So I know for you, you've got your wife minding your dogs in another room. So there are mitigation things like that you have to think of before you get on video.
And one of my monitors went out yesterday, so I'm doing this a little bit differently. I usually look right here because I've got both monitors, and I know I'm doing this right now because I've only got the one. But yeah, I don't want the guy to come to the door and my dogs go crazy. So
because
it's just
I've never seen that happen at all.
Yeah, never. It doesn't happen around here. So those are the 5 things. So let's go over this really quick. The rule of thirds, perspective, lighting, audio, backgrounds. I really think, guys, that if you pay attention to these top 5 things and really watch and make sure that you're following some of the rules, doing some of the things, that you need to be, that really is one of those things that just these 5 things to know. You can add more things. There's definitely more things that you can add, but these 5 things really are the top 5.
That's right. So, Mitchell makes a very good point here.
By the way. Go ahead.
that's one thing. Maybe you're not even you don't always notice identifying information, maybe pictures on a mantle or somehow a piece of mail that where it's obvious what the address is. Those are all personal identifying things that you want to make sure isn't there, at least not without the customer's approval. Certainly addresses and things like that, I just whole cloth would make sure it's not in an image or a video background.
So one of the things that you can do, if you go online and just Google a release, it's called a video release. Keep those in your vans. And if you want to use something, video it, show the customer really quick, and just say, I want to use this for marketing and advertising purposes. Would that be okay? If they say yes, then just have them sign that video release and you are covered. You're covered. So same thing with and definitely don't shoot phallic things on your customers' homes. Yes. That is a really good point, Lee. Yeah, that'll get you in trouble. Because let me just tell you guys this. I don't know if you just saw the lawsuit with I think it's Nirvana. With
the
Nevermind album. Yeah, there's a baby swimming in a pool that's on the cover, and apparently they never got a release for that from the parents, and this kid is now suing them. So having a release on anything that you use, especially if it's commercial, really, really important. Really important.
Right.
Yes, Terry, you're right. This is the question that Terry asked. If you can see something from the street, you can use it in public.
Right.
You can.
Now, one caveat I would say to that is if it's a client of yours, I'd just ask them just so you have that in your hip pocket, but you don't technically have to. And especially when you're shooting from the street and you catch a neighbor's house, I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. That's perfectly okay.
Yeah, and a lot of times when you are shooting those things from the street, the other thing to kind of watch for, if you're not shooting the entire house, but it's just the portion that you're working on, that's absolutely fine. Make sure that the address isn't showing. That's right. Really, really important there. Really important. So look at here. We've now been invited to Warrior Horse. All right, Kevin.
Wait.
We're going to figure it out, but we got to come down in February where we can stand the heat.
That's right.
So yes, that's a great deal, Terry. Block the house number. Block the house number.
And this comes, and that's an issue of framing. When you're framing your shot, when at all possible, just don't put the house number in the shot. That'll help a ton. Yeah, I think that's really, really good. So the other thing I want to cover really quick, we introduced the Listings to Lead program. It will be coming out. I think your emails will be in should be in your inboxes tomorrow, I believe. We've had a little bit of a setback here, not in the program itself, not in the software, but with some health issues to make sure that I've got people in the right places. I shouldn't say I should say we. We've got people in the right places just in case something breaks. So we did not want to release this without people in the right seats. So we make sure that everything is just goes off without a hitch. But I think I heard about 30 minutes ago that I think we're going to be ready and release it at some point tomorrow. So please be looking in your inboxes tomorrow. You can find that, and I think that'll be good to go. I am Taylor Hill. I am with Spark Marketer. And next week, we were coming live again from a plumbing and HVAC show. And I got the word it got canceled about an hour before this. So next week will be a surprise. We'll figure something out. I've got the whole next month planned, but I don't have anything for next week. So I promise we'll have something good next week. We'll push it out. I think all the ads and everything goes out on Monday. So I'll let everybody know on Monday what we're going to do next week. So appreciate you guys. Hope you guys stay safe.
I don't know if people knew people that went to the homecoming. They had some people that got back and tested positive for COVID. So stay safe out there. There was what was that show? There was a cop show. That was the last thing they said. I think it was Hill something. Oh man, anybody know that?
Blues, was it?
Hill Street Blues. That's it. So stay safe out there. And we'll see you all next week. And again, thanks to all of you guys that gave us a thumbs up. Christian, Derek, Jared, Mitchell, Jerry, Stacy. Really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody for coming on. We really enjoy having and seeing you every single week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.